This is the Transformers Generations Studio Series 86, figure number 10 from the Transformers the movie way back in 1986. This is the Voyager class Decepticon sweep. I picked up this figure from a hobby shop called R Toys out in Green Hills. You probably know about that shop. That's one of my favorite hobby shops out there in Green Hills. I picked it up for about $38. I went around to Toys R Us, a couple of Toys R Us stores, the one near my area. They had another one. The one at Toys R Us, it was selling for $36. And when I rang it up, it had an additional 10% discount. I just ended up paying a little more than $32. I went to another Toys R Us store a little bit further away from my area, and I found another one, another sweep. And again, it was selling for the same price, $38. And because it was Toys R Us, it had an additional 10% discount. I couldn't be happier. And here are the sweeps out of packaging, and amazing figures right off the bat. I love the colors that they're in, and I appreciate the fact that Hasbro's done and tried to really recreate accuracy when it comes to their latest releases for these War for Cybertron trilogy figures, as well as their Studio Series 86 figures. Officially, there are, I believe, 4 sweeps. But if you remember season 3, there was a mention of sweep number 7. And I don't know how many sweeps there are. And the sweeps were actually the Insecticons. And the Insecticons had this ability to multiply themselves. Hence, there's been a sort of indefinite number of sweeps throughout the Transformers G1 lore. We'll talk more about my theories on what happened, what went down in their transformation, if these are really the Insecticons, later on towards the end of the video. But for now, suffice to say, I'm pretty happy with 3 sweeps to symbolize the 3 Insecticons that were turned by Unicron. So amazing figures. They're done in this lighter shade of blue. We'll do a comparison later with Scourge. Each of these figures carry a blaster rifle, which is identical to Scourge's rifle, just repainted, and a blast effect. Each one has 1 blast effect. This one is exactly the same as the Scourge blast effect, done in a different shade of purple. We'll show that off in a little while. Looking at these figures, I am absolutely happy. These are one of the figures I actually don't mind purchasing and repurchasing, other than the fact that I'm a big sucker for repaints. This is one repaint that you've got to pick up if you're a big fan of the 86 movie. A closer look at the details of the figure. There's hardly any mold degradation because being that this is the second run of this figure, there's a little looseness in some of the joints, but most of the joints are pretty tight, as you can see right here. All the hinges are pretty tight. The ball hinge, I suppose, or universal hinge on the hips on at least this copy of the sweep that I got is a little loose when it goes side to side. But other than that, all the joints seem to be really tight, particularly the wrists, the elbows, the knees, even the waist. Hardly any mold degradation happening onto this mold. It's done in this really nice glossy navy blue plastic with a little bit of the periwinkle plastic on it. I think some of them are painted. Yep, painted periwinkle, a little bit of a magenta on the fingertips. You got the Decepticon logo right there, and the head sculpt. Head sculpt looks absolutely fantastic, exactly the same as Scourge, just done in a different, lighter shade of color. Now, speaking of Scourge, here are both Scourge and the sweep together side by side. You can clearly see it's the exact same model with one slight modification. We'll talk about that later. Let me talk about the paint-apps or the color of the plastic first. Scourge is done in this really nice bluish purple, very deep color compared to the sweep. Sweep is done in this really nice blue color, as I mentioned earlier. The gun blaster is exactly the same, identical mold. You get the pegs right here and the pegs right there, but done in the same plastic difference as the body. The periwinkle on their thighs, the fists and the elbows and all that. The sweep version is done in this grayish type with a hint of periwinkle. He's done in a more of a purplish periwinkle type of gray plastic paint.
I should say. Even the abs, where there's gray or purplish gray right here, it's the same treatment as here. They made it gray or lighter gray of a shade. So essentially the same. Even the head sculpt is the same. I thought they were different. I thought, you know, Hasbro normally gives us a different head sculpt. You can clearly see they're identical. And I was surprised that normally if they give us a repaint, they usually give us an extra weapon, or they modify the mold. They give us a new head sculpt just to justify repurchasing the exact same figure. I know it's nuts, but that's their business model, and it gets me all the time. What I did notice though is they changed something. They changed the fists. They remolded the fists, and as such they swapped the open grabbing hand. So Scourge has the left hand as grabbing and the right hand clenched as a fist, as a gripping hand, and they swapped it here. They remolded another hand, the left hand as a gripping hand and the right hand as the sort of splayed out grabbing hand. With that, I think Hasbro is going to recycle these open hands with the Draculus mold. I don't have that Draculus mold, no plans of getting it. If you're wondering, I honestly am not into these. I'm not really into collecting the collaborative series from Hasbro, so no plans of reviewing that one anytime soon. But going back to these two, that's the slight difference. So it kind of justifies getting the same figure over and over. I mean, at least buying it a second time around. I mean, if you're not a big fan of the 86 movie, you'll probably just settle with either one of these figures. But for those of us who grew up with that movie, you've got to pick up both of these guys. And again, as I said, additional sweeps just to complete your lineup. But that's the slight, subtle difference that they made. Now, lest I forget, onto the blasters, the blast effect. It looks identical with a subtle, very subtle change with the sweep blast effect. The sweep blast effect is, I don't know, it could just be quality control, but I thought this was a little bit lighter. This is on the pinkish side. This is more on the purplish side. You be the judge, but is it just the lighting or just a little bit of quality control? This is Scourge. This is sweep, and it follows the same motif that the sweep is a sort of a lighter version, a little bit of lighter shade of everything from Scourge, and it goes the same with the blast effect. Yeah, right there, the camera is showing off. This one's a little bit lighter than this one, so very subtle. And for a bit more of size comparisons, here's everybody from Unicron's Armada featuring Galvatron, Cyclonus, Scourge, and of course the sweeps. They all look great together. They're going to be great to display on your shelf. And the sweeps do come with this very nice diorama showing how the Insecticons were transformed by Unicron into the sweeps. So let's transform sweep, get rid of the blast effect and the weapon. Extend the backpack, the panels on the back, just like that. Open them up, open these ports up, and then you want to stretch out the wings just to give you some space. Okay, and then it unlocks the backpack just like that, and then detach the shoulders like this, fold up the feet, heel spurs, and the toes, combine those legs and this backpack section right here. Pop this up just like that, rotate it backwards like this. I'm going to shoot it right here on this turbine. This entire neck section is going to stretch out like this. It's going to tab onto the back of the legs. That. The arms, you're going to fold down and again tab onto the legs like that. Put this right here. Faceplate covering the face. You combine, form the side of the boat. Collapse the demon wings right there and form the side of the boat spaceship. These demon wings, they just fold in like that. And there you go. Pretty cool. And the weapons, they can be plugged in right here. You can have the blast going here, or you can have it here just like in the cartoon when they're strafing the Autobots. And for comparison, here is Scourge in his boat spaceship alt mode as well. And so some final thoughts on the Studio Series 86 Voyager class sweep, or the sweeps. I think it's a great repaint, and
a little bit biased, but I think it deserves a 10 out of 10. It is a wonderful redeco of the Scourge mold, which is exactly what happened back in G1. And I think Hasbro did a wonderful job just giving us a little bit more incentive to repurchase the exact same figure done in different colors, remolded fists, and different sort of character and persona altogether. Now, going back to my theory, I think, honestly, this is how it went down when Unicron gave bodies to the Decepticons that were discarded and thrown away. And at the end of the day, I think the animators made an honest mistake. They really didn't plan on putting both Skywarp and Bombshell in the same frame, and both of them turned into Cyclonus. This is, I think, if you look at it at a logical perspective, obviously Megatron becomes Galvatron. Thundercracker becomes Scourge. Their colors are very close together. They're both done in blue. And in the same vein, Skywarp, done in purple, should have been the new purple body, which is Cyclonus. And I think it was an honest mistake. And Skywarp, I think, would have been a better second in command for Galvatron or Unicron's Armada. So I'm sticking with that. We can all agree, disagree at the end of the day, but I think that's what happened. And again, having so many sweeps every time they attack the Autobots, there's like 4, 5, 6 of them. I think it's more believable that they were the Insecticons, given the fact that the Insecticons have this ability to multiply. I don't think they're just holograms like Doctor Strange, what Doctor Strange does. I think they're actual self-duplication like what Loki does, because they all eat energon. So even the doubles eat energon. So I think the sweeps multiplication ability or ability to duplicate themselves was migrated into the form of the sweeps, and as such the sweeps appeared more than 3, more than 4, and at any given time there were like 6, 7 of them flying around, and that's because they were the Insecticons. The sweeps were identical. It just gives more credence to that theory that they were the Insecticons, because the Insecticons were essentially insect robots and they were all in the same type of robot, rather than Bombshell being Cyclonus and then Skywarp being one of the sweeps. So that theory, I think, is more sound. So let me know in the comment section, what do you think of this new Studio Series 86 sweeps? Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.